Okay, I'm Dave Payne. Jim wanted me to go next. I brought this little thing in to show you the art of the possible. Lydia was saying, I wish I could get my lathe to run slower. Her lathe, I think 500 or 600 RPM is the slowest.
400,
but
450.
But to be able to put like a...
But there are times when, yes, you want to put a finish on and have it rotate slow. My lathe can go down to 100 RPM, but even 100 RPM, the finish will want to come off. So Jim and I both have 3D printers. And this is part of a 3D printer, also part of a regular printer called a stepper motor. And the stepper motor is unusual in that when you put the power on, it doesn't rotate. It locks its magnets. This has 200 magnet pairs, and a step is to go from 1.8 degrees to the next magnet pair. So you need something to make this rotate. It won't rotate by itself, it will just lock up, full torque. And in the 3D printers we have a control board and we have a display. This little puppy allows us to generate rotational pulses that make this go round and at whatever speed we want. So this is on its middle speed, and we can go to, come on, slow speed. And then this will, the noise is being generated by the driver, not by here. So I put this prototype together for a woodworking friend in New Mexico who wanted to make his own version of the workshop sharpening system that uses the glass discs, 6-inch glass discs, but he said they were too fast. He wanted to sharpen carving gouges. He's got these V carving gouges. So I said, hey, why don't you put a stepper motor together? He's very good with electronics. And so I put this prototype together to show him, and then he went out and bought stuff. He hasn't used it yet. So I made an adapter for him that goes on this. But this is just to show you, if you mount this on a lathe with pulley, so I 3D printed this, which will mount to the back of the chuck. And then I have instead of the adapter, I have a pinion, and then the appropriate belt, and then it can rotate the chuck very, very slowly. So I'm here to try and convince anyone who wants to get into being able to turn things slowly. This is not very expensive. This is like $30, $35. This is $15. This is another $15. So it's very simple to put together. This is just a 12-volt power supply, but you have to get the power to be sufficient for the amps of the stepper. So this is a 5-amp power supply, so that this can consume up to 4 amps.
Dave, could you use a rotisserie motor?
Maybe. I don't know how slow you can get the rotisserie motor.
From what I gather, from what I was reading.
This gives you a lot more flexibility though. And then I can change the direction. And we can go to, I don't think you'd want to go fast, but you can go fast.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a theremin.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the name of it.
Didn't Pink Floyd come out with that like in the 70s?
So that's to show you the art of the possible. If you want to control your lathe slowly.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay?
All right.
That's me. so my name's Ethan Feinsod. I've been a member for
Long time.
25 or so years, maybe. Over that period of time, the life got in the way. I was diagnosed with CIDP, which is a demyelinization of the myelin in your body nerves. 90% of the people that get it affects the legs and the feet. I'm one of the lucky ones that bilaterally affected my arms and hands, to the point where I couldn't hold anything anymore, couldn't use my hands. I haven't turned in probably 10, 12 years, 15 years. I couldn't put a tool on the tool rest because it was dangerous. In October, well, I've been back and forth between Mayo Clinic 4 times with 2.5 years of intense IV drip, which takes a full day, and without any success. But as the disease progressed, I developed a very bad tremor in my hands, which they didn't know what to do. There's 2 different types of neurologists. You have neurologists that deal with your nerves, and you got neurologists that deal with tremor, things like Parkinson's, essential tremor, and other diseases. I didn't fall into any of these categories, but they agreed to do deep brain stimulation surgery, which I had in October. And the reason that I wanted to tell everybody, it was absolutely amazing. It's multiple surgeries, took about, from beginning to end was about 8 weeks of 2 major surgeries. One where they drill 2 big holes in your head and insert probes while you're still awake. I won't go into all the details. But the next is I have what is a pacemaker here, which is controlled by my cell phone. Turn it on, off, up and down. And except when I'm very stressed or nervous, speaking, I could pretty much hold. It's about an 85 to 90% success. And so I've talked to a lot of groups about Parkinson's, because actually just recently in the last 6 months I lost a good friend to Parkinson's who was my age and refused to go for any kind of treatment. I talked to essential tremor people because they feel like there is no cure, and so on. And I'm one of the few people that they tried it with CIDP because it's not that common, but they were willing to try it. And so this is the first bowl that I started this 15 years ago and walked away from my lathe because I was afraid the tool was getting ready to catch, or did almost catch once or twice, and I've had some disasters on lathes when I was in good shape. So I went back and I'm doing all kinds of things that I haven't done in 15 to 20 years. Threading a needle on a sewing machine, which I was a sailor, did a lot of sailing, did a lot of repairs of sails and building a lot of my own stuff. I'm a marquetry artist is primarily what I do, very precision inlays and pictures, converting photographs of people. Some of you know me, I was a professional photographer for most of my life, 60-something years. Doing marquetry from photographs, doing precision violin making. I was a violin maker and repairman for a number of years, and other very detailed work. So this has been like a major breakthrough. So if anybody knows anybody that has essential tremors or Parkinson's or any of that, I'd be glad to talk to them. And it's not the greatest bowl, but it's a way back. Still dealing with other aspects of CIDP, which means my hands throb, my fingers, I have a constant tingling and numbness in my fingers and so on in my arms, but it's like a new life.
Good.
It's a pretty nice bowl.
Oh, that's a
Yeah. Big butterfly.
My name is John Gallagher. My wife is on the board of directors at the Lehigh Gap Nature Center. In June, they are having an art exhibit, and my wife insisted that I make something to submit. And the theme of the exhibit is on gossamer wings. It's their pollinator day, so they'll be, well, the theme of the art exhibit is butterflies. And what do I know from butterflies? I turn bowls. This is my interpretation of a butterfly. Basically, I had a disc, this is hickory. I had a disc that was, when I cut the pith out of a log, it didn't crack. So I turned it concentric rings both sides, and then it had a crack in it, not a crack, it had some punky parts. And so on the bandsaw, I was able to cut the shape, and turned a base, and I turned a finial, and mounted it on some pieces of wire. So that'll be my submission to Pollinator Day as a butterfly. And a couple of years ago, well, it was pre-COVID, my wife and I were at a convention in Wilmington, and we stopped at a restaurant for dinner, and we ordered a bowl. I mean, your culinary bowl is basically, it's cooked grains with vegetables and stuff. It's a sort of dressing. It's sort of served like a salad. And they served it in a bowl. It's a little bit bigger than this, but it had that shape. It's ceramic, you know, with a sloping face. So when they put it on the table, they put it towards you like that. And I admired the bowl, and I spent more time looking at the bowl than eating the meal. I was always wondering, how could I turn one? I mean, obviously you could turn a bowl and put it on a bandsaw and cut it better. I don't have a bandsaw whose throat is that big. But this one, I actually had a billet of wood, and I turned it on an off axis until I got the edge so smooth enough. And then I mounted it on axis and turned the outside, turned the inside, and then I just sanded up the edge. So I made my bowl out of a piece of, this is spalted hollow, and I was able to make what I wanted for 2 years.
Very good.
That's